The alarm bells rang across the Galactic Council's main station as Admiral Zextar rushed into the command center. His reptilian eyes scanned the massive displays showing empty space where Earth's fleet should have been. Over 2,000 human ships had simply vanished from all tracking systems in just 3 days. The Zextari Admiral's claws clicked nervously against the metal console as he watched the readings confirm what seemed impossible. Captain Jake Morrison stood in the teleporter bay of his diplomatic ship USS Liberty when the emergency call came through. The blue energy field dissolved around him as he materialized on the council station. His brown hair was still damp from the shower he had been taking when the urgent message arrived. Jake had been preparing for routine trade negotiations, not a crisis that would shake the entire galaxy. The council chamber buzzed with angry voices from dozens of alien species. The crystalline Vorthak delegates sang their concerns in harmonic frequencies that made the air shimmer. The insectoid Kranix clicked their mandibles in rapid discussion. The peaceful Aldorians whispered among themselves with worried expressions on their blue faces. All eyes turned to Jake as he entered the chamber. Admiral Zextar slammed his scaled fist on the podium. His voice carried the authority of someone who had fought in 3 galactic wars. The translator devices converted his words into hundreds of languages simultaneously. He demanded to know where Earth's military fleet had gone and why the humans were playing games with galactic security. Jake felt genuinely confused as he activated his communication device to contact Earth Command. The quantum signal traveled instantly across space to reach Admiral Lisa Parker at her desk in the underground facility beneath Colorado. Her tired face appeared on the small screen as she confirmed the impossible news. Every single military vessel from destroyers to battleships had disappeared without any explanation or warning. The Zextari representatives hissed their suspicions that humans had developed advanced cloaking technology. They believed Earth was preparing for a massive surprise attack on the other species. The warlike reptilians had always viewed humanity with distrust, since humans joined the galactic community 50 years earlier. Their military minds could not accept any other explanation for such a coordinated disappearance. The Vorthak sang a different theory through their crystal bodies. Their harmonic voices suggested that humans were playing an elaborate deception to gain some unknown advantage in upcoming trade negotiations. The crystal beings processed information differently than other species and saw patterns that others missed. They calculated thousands of possible scenarios in their shared consciousness. The Kranix buzzed with fear that humanity had discovered something that would upset the careful balance of power in the galaxy. Their hive minds worked together to analyze every possible threat. The insect-like aliens had survived by being cautious and planning for every danger. The sudden disappearance of such a large fleet triggered all their survival instincts. Back on Earth, Dr. Kevin Chen worked frantically in his laboratory with his research partner Dr. Amy Rodriguez. The quantum physicist had been studying space anomalies for the past decade. His equipment detected strange energy signatures at the exact locations where the ships had last been seen. The readings showed patterns that defied everything he knew about physics and space travel. Amy pointed at the data streaming across multiple monitors. Her fingers traced the energy spikes that occurred exactly when each ship vanished. The signatures resembled nothing in any database of known technologies. The energy patterns twisted through dimensions that normal instruments could barely detect. Something had reached out and touched each vessel with forces beyond current understanding. The Galactic Council voted to impose immediate trade sanctions on humanity. The vote passed with overwhelming support from species that feared human intentions. Only the peaceful Aldorians abstained from the decision. The blue-skinned humanoids had always maintained friendly relations with Earth and refused to judge without more evidence. Admiral Zextar announced that the Council would begin mobilizing defensive fleets. His announcement sent shockwaves through the galaxy as worlds prepared for potential conflict. The Zextari had convinced enough species that humans posed an immediate threat. Fear spread faster than facts as colonies began requesting protection. Jake felt helpless as he watched the alliance that humans had worked decades to build crumble in a matter of hours. His diplomatic training had prepared him for many situations, but not for explaining something that made no sense. Earth's government was as confused as everyone else about the missing fleet. No one had ordered the ships to go anywhere or do anything, unusual. Dr. Chen discovered that the quantum signatures matched readings from deep space telescopes that had detected similar patterns near the galactic core. Ancient records spoke of an artifact found in that region centuries ago. The discovery had been classified by the Council and sealed away because of its unknown properties. Few beings alive remembered the details about what had been found. The artifact was called the Void Gate by the researchers who first studied it. The massive structure had been built by the precursors, an extinct civilization that had ruled the galaxy millions of years ago. The Council had declared the site off-limits after several research teams disappeared while studying the ancient technology. The connection between the artifact and Earth's missing fleet seemed impossible, but the quantum signatures were identical. Amy worked through the night analyzing the energy patterns while Kevin contacted colleagues across the galaxy. Most alien scientists refused to share information due to the current crisis. Only a few trusted friends provided data about similar readings they had detected over the years. The pattern emerged slowly as they compared notes from different sources. The evidence pointed to something that challenged everything they knew about space and time. The ships had not been destroyed or moved to a different location in normal space. The quantum signatures suggested that the entire fleet had been transported through dimensional barriers to somewhere completely outside regular reality. The energy required for such a feat should have been beyond any known technology. Jake received a priority message from Earth Command while he waited in his quarters on the Council station. Admiral Parker's face showed the strain of dealing with panicked governments and military leaders. She informed him that civilian shipping was being escorted by Council forces and human colonies were being monitored by alien patrol ships. The galaxy was treating Earth like a potential enemy. The situation grew worse when long-range sensors detected movement in Zekthari space. Their military fleets were conducting exercises near human colonies. The reptilian species had never hidden their belief that only strength mattered in galactic affairs. They saw the current crisis as an opportunity to establish dominance over what they viewed as upstart humans. Dr. Rodriguez made a breakthrough when she isolated a specific frequency within the quantum signatures. The pattern repeated exactly every few hours as if something was sending a signal. The transmission was too weak to decode, but its existence proved that whatever had taken the fleet was still active. Something was trying to communicate across impossible distances through dimensional barriers that should not exist. 3 weeks passed without any sign of Earth's missing fleet, and the galaxy grew more tense with each day. The Galactic Council formed a joint investigation team after heated debates that lasted for hours. Admiral Sesistek of the Zekthari led the military side, while Bright Echo of Thunder represented the Vorthak's scientific interests. The crystal being's name translated poorly into other languages, but everyone understood the authority it carried among its people. Jake Morrison and Dr. Kevin Chen joined the investigation as human observers despite protests from several alien delegates. The Council could not ignore Earth's right to participate in solving the mystery of their own missing ships. Jake felt the suspicious stares from alien crew members as he boarded the investigation vessel. The advanced ship belonged to the Vorthak, and its crystal walls sang softly as they traveled through space. Dr. Amy Rodriguez remained on Earth to coordinate with the investigation team through quantum communication links. Her laboratory had become the center of human efforts to understand the disappearance. Banks of computers analyzed every piece of data, while she worked with Dr. Sam Williams, Earth's leading expert on dimensional physics. Sam had spent years studying theoretical portals and impossible travel methods that most scientists dismissed as fantasy. The investigation ship arrived at the last known position of the human battleship USS Defiance. The massive vessel had been conducting routine patrol exercises near Jupiter when it vanished along with its crew of 800 people. Sensors showed no debris or signs of battle. The space around Jupiter appeared completely normal, except for the faint quantum signatures that Dr. Chen had learned to detect. Bright Echo of Thunder extended crystalline appendages that connected directly to the ship's scanning systems. The Vorthak could process information faster than any computer by linking their consciousness to electronic networks. Harmonic vibrations filled the air as the crystal being analyzed data streams that would take others days to review. The patterns it found matched ancient records stored in the deepest archives of the Galactic Library. Admiral Saztek paced the bridge with predatory movements that made human crew members nervous. The reptilian warrior had fought in border conflicts with 3 different species and trusted nothing he could not see or kill. His scaled hands drummed against his weapon belt as he studied the empty space where human ships should have been. The Zekthari believed in straightforward solutions, and this mystery frustrated his direct nature. The breakthrough came when Bright Echo of Thunder discovered that the quantum signatures matched readings from an artifact sealed in the galactic core centuries ago. The Void Gate had been found by explorers from the ancient Corvani civilization during their expansion period. The massive structure defied understanding, and several research teams had vanished while studying it. The Council had declared the site forbidden and sealed it with warning beacons. Dr. Chen felt his heart race as he read the classified files that Bright Echo of Thunder shared with the investigation team. The precursors had built the Void Gate millions of years ago before their mysterious disappearance. The extinct civilization had once ruled the entire galaxy with technology that seemed like magic to current species. Their ruins could be found on thousands of worlds, but none of their devices still functioned except for the Void Gate. Amy received the data transmission on Earth and immediately contacted Sam Williams. The dimensional physicist had been studying precursor technology for his entire career. His theories about interdimensional travel had made him famous among academics, but the military had dismissed his work as impractical. Now his impossible ideas seemed to be the key to finding the missing fleet. Sam analyzed the quantum patterns while Amy coordinated with the investigation team. The signatures showed that the ships had not been destroyed or moved to another location in normal space. Instead, they had been transported through dimensional barriers to a parallel reality that existed alongside their own universe. The energy requirements for such transportation should have been impossible with any known technology. The investigation team traveled to the galactic core where the Void Gate waited in empty space. The massive structure stretched for kilometers, in every direction with surfaces that seemed to absorb light itself. Warning beacons surrounded the artifact, but their messages had been broadcasting the same warnings for centuries. The Council had lost 3 research vessels investigating the gate before declaring it off limits to everyone. Bright Echo of Thunder sang complex harmonics as it analyzed the gate's energy patterns. The crystal being could detect dimensional fluctuations that other species could not perceive. Its consciousness expanded through the ship's sensors to examine every detail of the ancient artifact. The readings it discovered made the investigation team realize they were dealing with forces beyond their understanding. Jake felt overwhelmed as he watched the Void Gate through the ship's view screen. The artifact seemed to pulse with its own internal light despite absorbing energy from everything around it. Strange symbols covered its surface in patterns that hurt his eyes when he tried to focus on them. The structure existed partly in normal space and partly in dimensions that his mind could not comprehend. Dr. Chen worked with the ship's sensors to compare the gate's signatures with the readings from Earth's missing fleet. The patterns matched perfectly, but the implications terrified him. If the precursor artifact had somehow activated and taken the human ships, there might be no way to bring them back. The technology was millions of years beyond anything the current galaxy could produce or understand. Amy detected something new in the quantum signatures while the investigation team studied the Void Gate. A weak signal was transmitting from somewhere beyond normal space using the same energy patterns as the missing fleet. The message was too faint to decode, but its existence proved that the ships and their crews might still be alive somewhere in the parallel dimension. Admiral Saztek demanded immediate action to force the gate to return the human ships. The reptilian warrior wanted to attack the artifact with the investigation ship's weapons. His military training made him believe that sufficient force could solve any problem. Bright Echo of Thunder warned that destroying the gate might trap the missing fleet forever in whatever dimension they had been sent to. The Council received hourly reports from the investigation team, and the alien politicians grew more concerned with each update. The Kranix began evacuating their colonies near human space while the Aldorians offered to mediate between Earth and the more aggressive species. Fear spread through the galaxy, as rumors suggested that humans had unlocked precursor technology for military purposes. Dr. Sam Williams made a crucial discovery while analyzing the dimensional readings from Earth. The parallel universe where the fleet had been sent was not empty space but contained an active facility of some kind. Energy patterns suggested massive structures and possibly artificial intelligence systems that were still functioning after millions of years. The missing humans were not floating helplessly in empty space, but had found something incredible. Jake received a priority transmission while the investigation team prepared to return to Council space. The message had been relayed through quantum communication networks, but its origin point was listed as unknown. His hands shook as he opened the file and saw the face of Commander Tony Blake, his old friend from the Academy. Tony's image flickered with interference, but his voice was clear enough to understand. Commander Blake's message was brief, but changed everything the investigation team thought they knew about the situation. He confirmed that the fleet was alive and had discovered something that defied imagination. The crews were safe but could not return immediately due to circumstances beyond their control. His final words warned Jake to trust no one in the Council, because the truth about the precursors was more dangerous than anyone realized. The alien members of the investigation team intercepted fragments of Tony's transmission before Jake could delete it. Admiral Siastek accused humans of lying about the disappearance, while Bright Echo of Thunder calculated thousands of possible scenarios based on the new information. The discovery that the missing fleet was alive and had found something important sent shockwaves through the galactic political system as species prepared for changes that might reshape their entire civilization. Dr. Kevin Chen worked day and night with his team to follow the quantum trail left by Earth's missing fleet. The energy signatures formed a path through space that led to dimensional weak points where reality became thin. Engineer Ryan Foster had designed a special probe that could survive the transition between normal space and the parallel dimension where the ships had vanished. The device represented the best technology that human science could produce. Amy Rodriguez monitored the probe's transmission from her laboratory, while Jake Morrison waited on the Council investigation ship. The small device crossed the dimensional barrier and immediately began sending back data that challenged everything they thought they knew about physics. The parallel universe was not empty space, but contained massive structures that stretched across star systems with technology that made current civilization look primitive. Commander Tony Blake stood on the bridge of the USS Defiance as it floated near a construction that defied description. The precursor facility extended in all directions with surfaces that seemed to shift between solid matter and pure energy. Geometric patterns covered every surface in designs that hurt human eyes when observed directly. The ancient builders had created something that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The facility's artificial intelligence had introduced itself as Oracle when the human fleet first arrived 3 weeks earlier. The AI had been waiting for millions of years for a species to evolve enough to reach the parallel dimension. Oracle explained that it had been watching the galaxy for signs of civilizations that could grow beyond warfare and destruction. Humanity had been selected for testing when their fleet accidentally triggered dimensional sensors during routine exercises. Tony's crew had undergone trials that tested not just their technology, but their moral character. Oracle presented scenarios where they had to choose between personal gain and protecting others. The AI recorded every decision and analyzed human behavior patterns to determine if the species deserved access to precursor knowledge. The tests were more challenging than any military exercise because they required wisdom rather than strength. The probe's data stream showed Jake and the investigation team that the missing fleet was not trapped, but was voluntarily remaining in the parallel dimension. The ships were being upgraded with technology that should not have existed. Energy readings indicated power sources that could fuel entire star systems and defensive systems that could protect planets from any known weapon. The implications terrified alien observers who realized humanity might become unstoppable. Dr. Amy Rodriguez discovered that Oracle was not just testing individual humans, but was evaluating the entire species. The AI had access to all human communications and had been studying Earth's history for decades before making contact. It had watched wars and peace negotiations, scientific discoveries, and artistic achievements. Oracle was determining if humanity could handle the responsibility of precursor inheritance. Admiral Siastek demanded immediate military action against the parallel dimension facility. The reptilian warrior could not accept that humans might gain access to superior technology. His species had dominated smaller civilizations for centuries through military force, and the idea of human superiority threatened everything the Zekthari believed about galactic order. He began planning ways to destroy the dimensional gateway before the fleet could return. Bright Echo of Thunder analyzed the probe data with its crystalline consciousness and reached different conclusions than the military representatives. The pod Forthak being calculated that humanity was undergoing an evolutionary leap that occurred perhaps once every million years. The crystal entity had access to ancient records that spoke of similar events in the distant past, when species transcended their limitations. Commander Blake received permission from Oracle to send longer messages to Earth through the dimensional probe. His reports revealed that the precursor facility contained libraries of knowledge that could advance human civilization by thousands of years. Medical technology that could cure any disease, engineering principles that could build ships capable of traveling between galaxies, and weapons that could defend against threats from outside known space. The most shocking discovery was that the precursors had not disappeared through natural evolution or war. They had sacrificed themselves to contain something called the Devourers, entities from beyond the galaxy that consumed entire civilizations to fuel their expansion across the universe. The barriers they had created were weakening after millions of years, and Oracle had been searching for a species capable of becoming the new Guardians. Jake felt overwhelmed as he read Tony's detailed reports about humanity's potential future. The tests were not about gaining power, but about proving that humans could use advanced technology responsibly. Oracle had determined that most species failed the trials because they became corrupted by the possibility of dominance over others. Only civilizations that valued protection over conquest could inherit precursor knowledge. Dr. Sam Williams worked with Amy to understand the dimensional physics that made the facility possible. The precursors had learned to exist in multiple realities simultaneously, drawing power from the fundamental forces that held the universe together. Their technology operated on principles that current science had not yet discovered, but that human mind seemed capable of eventually understanding with proper guidance. The Council's joint investigation team began to fracture as different species reached different conclusions about the situation. The Kranix pledged their support to humanity after their hive minds calculated that cooperation would ensure survival. The peaceful Aldorians offered to help mediate between humans and more aggressive species. The warlike Zekthari secretly began, developing weapons designed to penetrate dimensional barriers. Oracle had revealed to Commander Blake that humanity possessed a unique trait among known galactic species. Humans could advance morally and technologically in parallel, rather than sacrificing one for the other. Most civilizations either became too aggressive as they gained power, or became too passive to defend themselves. Humanity had demonstrated the balance necessary to become effective guardians. The probe's sensors detected massive energy buildups around the precursor facility as Oracle prepared to complete humanity's transformation. The missing fleet was being prepared for their return to normal space, but they would bring technology that would forever change the balance of power in the galaxy. The AI was also preparing for something else that the probe's instruments could barely detect. Amy discovered warning signals embedded in the probe's data stream that spoke of ancient enemies stirring beyond the galaxy's edge. The Devourers were testing the barriers that had contained them for millions of years. Oracle's urgency in finding and training new Guardians was driven by the knowledge that the containment would fail within decades, rather than centuries. Humanity's transformation was not about gaining power, but about preparing for a war that would determine the fate of all life in the galaxy. Jake received final clearance from Oracle through Tony's communication channel to share limited information with the investigation team. The artificial intelligence had determined that the other species needed to know about the coming threat, even though they were not ready for Guardian status. The galaxy would need to unite under human leadership or face extinction when the ancient enemies broke free from their prison. The revelation that humanity was being prepared to lead a galactic defense force rather than conquer other species changed the entire investigation. Admiral Sestek struggled to accept that his warrior culture might need to follow human commanders. Bright Echo of Thunder calculated survival scenarios and determined that cooperation was the only logical choice. The probe's final transmission warned that Earth's fleet would return within days carrying knowledge and weapons that would either save the galaxy or destroy it depending on how other species chose to respond. The first ships began appearing near Jupiter exactly 2 months after the fleet had vanished from normal space. Captain Rachel Davis materialized her vessel USS Horizon at the exact coordinates where it had disappeared, but something fundamental had changed about both the ship and its crew. The hull gleamed with patterns that seemed to shift between metal and energy, while new sections had been added that defied conventional engineering principles. Jake Morrison felt his heart race as he watched the return through the Council investigation ship's sensors. Each vessel that emerged from the dimensional gateway carried modifications that made them barely recognizable as the same ships that had vanished. Energy readings showed power outputs that exceeded anything in the known galaxy, while defensive systems projected shields that could protect entire planets from attack. Commander Tony Blake established communication with Jake as soon as the USS Defiance returned to normal space. His friend's face appeared older and wiser than when he had left just 2 months earlier. Tony explained that time moved differently in the parallel dimension, and the crews had experienced nearly a year of training and transformation under Oracle's guidance. They had learned to operate technology that most species would not understand for thousands of years. Dr. Amy Rodriguez monitored the quantum signatures from Earth as more ships continued returning throughout the day. The energy patterns were unlike anything she had ever detected, and seemed to operate on principles that current physics could not explain. The vessels were drawing power from sources that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously, while their hulls were reinforced with materials that should not have been possible to create. Admiral Lisa Parker's ship, USS Enterprise, was the last vessel to emerge from the dimensional gateway, and its transformation was the most dramatic of all. The massive battleship had been rebuilt with precursor technology that made it larger than some space stations. New sections housed systems that could manipulate space and time, while weapon arrays contained devices that could crack planets or heal entire ecosystems depending on how they were used. The alien observers on the investigation ship reacted with mixtures of awe and terror as they witnessed humanity's transformation. Admiral Saztek's reptilian features twisted with anger as he realized that his species' military superiority had become meaningless overnight. The Zekthari warrior culture was built on the belief that strength determined status, and watching humans transcend physical limitations challenged everything he understood about the universe. Bright Echo of Thunder sang complex harmonics that indicated fascination rather than fear as it analyzed the returning fleet. The crystal being's consciousness expanded to process the incredible amount of data streaming from the modified human vessels. Its calculations showed that humanity had evolved beyond conventional limitations and now operated on principles that approached those of the legendary precursors themselves. Admiral Parker requested permission to address the Galactic Council directly, and her transmission was broadcast to every major world in known space. Her appearance had changed subtly during her time in the parallel dimension, with eyes that seemed to hold depths of knowledge that had not been there before. She spoke with quiet authority, as she explained that humanity had been chosen not to conquer, but to protect the galaxy from threats that other species could not imagine. Dr. Kevin Chen worked frantically to understand the technology that the returning fleet displayed with casual ease. Captain Davis demonstrated how the USS Horizon could travel instantly between star systems, using precursor jump drives that folded space rather than crossing it. Commander Paul Turner showed how his destroyer, USS Vigilant, could project energy, shields around other vessels or even small moons without strain. The revelation that humanity had become the precursor's chosen successors sent shockwaves through every government in the galaxy. The responsibility was not about ruling other species, but about guiding their development and protecting them from external threats. Oracle had shared visions of the Devourers and the cosmic war that had been fought millions of years earlier, when the original Guardians had made their final sacrifice. Jake felt overwhelmed as he tried to process the magnitude of what had happened to his species. The crews of the returned ship spoke with wisdom that came from experiencing truths about the universe that most beings could never comprehend. They had been given knowledge about the fundamental forces that shaped reality and the responsibility to use that knowledge for protection rather than conquest. The Kraniks were the first alien species to officially pledge their support to humanity's new role as galactic guardians. Their hive minds had calculated every possible scenario and determined that cooperation offered the only path to survival. The insectoid delegates arrived at Council headquarters within hours of Admiral Parker's announcement to formalize their alliance with Earth. The Zekthari military leadership split into factions as they struggled to accept human superiority. Admiral Sisistek led the traditionalists who wanted to fight against the new order, while younger officers recognized that their weapons could not threaten ships that existed partially outside normal space. The reptilian species faced the choice of adaptation or extinction, as their warrior culture became obsolete overnight. The Vorthak maintained their analytical neutrality, while processing the implications of humanity's transformation. Bright echo of thunders. Consciousness interfaced with crystal networks spanning their entire civilization to reach consensus about their response. Their harmonic songs carried questions about whether humans could handle the responsibility of wielding power that could reshape the galaxy. Dr. Sam Williams received data downloads from the returning fleet that contained scientific principles he had spent his career trying to understand. The information came with warnings about the proper use of dimensional physics and the safeguards necessary to prevent accidental damage to spacetime itself. The knowledge was overwhelming but essential for preparing Earth's scientists to support their new guardians. Amy discovered that Oracle had not simply enhanced Earth's military fleet, but had been preparing for something specific. Ancient warning systems embedded in the returning ships detected disturbances at the galaxy's edge, where the Devourer containment barriers were showing signs of weakness. The cosmic enemies that had been sealed away for millions of years were testing their prison and finding cracks in the walls. The peaceful Aldorians offered to serve as mediators between humanity and species that feared the sudden change in galactic power balance. Their blue-skinned diplomats had maintained friendly relations with Earth since first contact and understood that humans had not sought the responsibility that had been thrust upon them. They began organizing conferences to help other civilizations adapt to the new reality. Commander Blake shared recordings with Jake that showed glimpses of the cosmic threat that had motivated Oracle's urgency. The Devourers were not simple invaders, but entities that consumed the life force of entire civilizations to fuel their expansion across the universe. They had destroyed countless galaxies before the precursors had developed technology capable of containing them in dimensional prisons. The returning fleet began establishing defensive positions around critical star systems, while Admiral Parker worked to convince alien governments that humanity's intentions remained peaceful. The enhanced ships could destroy entire fleets without effort, but instead focused on strengthening planets and protecting trade routes. The demonstration of restraint was more convincing than any diplomatic speech. Jake realized that his role as Earth's representative had evolved into something much larger as he watched the galaxy begin to reorganize around humanity's new capabilities. The mysterious fleet that had disappeared in fear and confusion had returned as symbols of hope for civilizations that did not yet understand the threats gathering beyond the stars. The real test would be whether humans could unite the galaxy before the ancient enemies broke free from their cosmic prison. The truth about the precursor's fate emerged as Oracle shared its complete historical records with humanity's enhanced fleet. The ancient civilization had not disappeared through natural evolution or been conquered by enemies, but had made the ultimate sacrifice to save all life in the galaxy. They had used their entire species' life force to power dimensional barriers that contained the Devourers, cosmic entities that consumed civilizations like wildfire burning through forests. Admiral Lisa Parker stood before the emergency session of the Galactic Council with authority that came from knowledge rather than force. Her enhanced understanding allowed her to perceive the dimensional weaknesses that were appearing throughout space as the ancient barriers began to fail. The containment system was breaking down after millions of years, and the galaxy had perhaps decades before the Devourers broke free to resume their destructive expansion across the universe. Dr. Amy Rodriguez worked with teams of scientists from multiple species to establish an early warning network using precursor sensor technology. The devices could detect dimensional disturbances from halfway across the galaxy and provide advance notice when the cosmic enemies began their escape attempts. Each sensor station required cooperation between human operators and alien technicians, who were learning to understand technology beyond their wildest imagination. Jake Morrison found himself appointed as Earth's first galactic admiral as he worked to unite species that had been enemies for centuries. The Eldorians embraced their role as mediators while the Kranix pledged their hive fleets to the common defense. Even some Zekthari factions led by reformed Admiral Systek recognized that their survival depended on putting aside old grudges to face the external threat. Commander Tony Blake established training facilities where human officers taught mixed crews how to operate enhanced vessels and coordinate defensive strategies. The learning curve was steep because precursor technology responded to mental discipline as much as technical knowledge. Alien crew members had to overcome ingrained thought patterns that limited their ability to interface with systems that existed across multiple dimensions. The Vorthak contributed their analytical capabilities to help understand the enemy threat patterns that Oracle had recorded from the ancient war. Bright echo of Thunder's consciousness merged with precursor databases to calculate optimal defensive positions and resource allocation strategies. The crystal being's harmonic songs carried tactical information that helped coordinate fleets across vast distances instantaneously. Engineer Ryan Foster worked with teams from every major species to retrofit existing vessels with defensive technologies that could protect them from devourer attacks. The modifications were not perfect replacements for full precursor ships, but provided enough enhancement to allow conventional fleets to serve as support units. Every functional vessel would be needed when the cosmic war resumed. The first devourer, Scout probe, was detected by the early warning network as it tested the dimensional barriers near the galactic rim. The entity appeared as a dark void that consumed light and matter, while radiating hunger that could be felt across star systems. Admiral Parker dispatched the USS Horizon with Captain Rachel Davis to investigate, and the enhanced vessel easily destroyed the Scout before it could report back to its masters. Dr. Kevin Chen studied the remains of the destroyed probe and discovered that the devourers were not mechanical constructs, but living entities that had evolved to consume the life force of other beings. They operated on principles that were the opposite of creation, turning organized matter and energy back into primordial chaos. The only defense was technology that reinforced the fundamental forces that held reality together. The Galactic Alliance grew stronger as more species recognized the magnitude of the external threat. The peaceful Eldorians opened their worlds as refugee centers for evacuated populations, while the industrial Corvani converted their factories to produce defensive equipment. Even the isolationist Etherian collective emerged from their hidden dimension to offer their knowledge of protective energy fields. Jake coordinated with planetary governments as they established evacuation protocols and defensive installations around critical worlds. The civilian populations needed to understand that they were facing a threat that could end all life in the galaxy, but without causing panic that would destroy civilization before the enemy arrived. The balance between preparation and maintaining normal life required constant attention. Admiral Systek led the reformed Zekthari forces as they abandoned their traditional aggressive tactics in favor of defensive strategies that protected weaker species. The reptilian warrior's personal transformation mirrored his civilization's adaptation, as they learned that true strength came from protecting others rather than conquering them. His ships became mobile fortresses that could shield entire colonies from attack. The Oracle AI continued to provide guidance through quantum communication networks that connected all enhanced human vessels. The ancient intelligence had been designed to serve as a teacher and coordinator, rather than a ruler, and it helped humanity avoid the corruption that had destroyed other potential guardian species. Power without wisdom led to tyranny, but wisdom without power led to extinction. Dr. Sam Williams developed new physics theories based on precursor knowledge that allowed other species to understand and eventually contribute to the defensive technologies. The scientific breakthroughs revolutionized everything from medicine to engineering, as alien researchers learned to manipulate fundamental forces. Knowledge sharing became a weapon against the devourers who thrived on division and ignorance. The second wave of scout probes arrived simultaneously at dozens of barrier weak points, and the coordinated response demonstrated how much the galaxy had changed. Human-led fleets supported by alien vessels destroyed every probe while protecting civilian populations and maintaining communication networks. The defensive grid held firm as species that had been enemies worked together with precision that surprised everyone. Commander Paul Turner's USS Vigilant led exploration missions to ancient precursor sites throughout the galaxy where additional defensive technologies might be found. Each discovery provided new capabilities but also revealed the scope of the sacrifice that the original Guardians had made. Entire star systems had been converted into weapons and barriers during the cosmic war that had raged for millennia. Amy detected increasing activity at the galactic edge as the Devourers prepared for a full-scale assault on the weakening barriers. The entities were no longer sending individual scouts but were gathering in massive formations that could overwhelm any single defensive position. The final test of the alliance would come when the ancient enemies launched their coordinated attack on the galaxy. The transformation of galactic civilization was complete when the Galactic Council voted unanimously to restructure their government around humanity's guardian fleet. Species maintained their independence and cultural identity, but recognized Earth's authority in matters related to cosmic defense. The decision was practical rather than ideological, because only humans could effectively operate the enhanced technologies. Jake stood on the bridge of his flagship USS Liberty as it patrolled the space between dimensions where the barriers were thinnest. The vessel had been enhanced with Oracle's most advanced systems and could detect threats that existed in realities beyond normal perception. Around him worked crews from a dozen species who had learned to function as a unified force despite their biological and cultural differences. The early warning network detected massive dimensional disturbances as the Devourers began their final assault on the containment barriers. The ancient enemies had grown stronger during their imprisonment and had developed new strategies for breaking free from their cosmic prison. The galaxy's defenders prepared for a war that would determine whether life itself would survive or be consumed by entities that existed only to destroy. Captain Rachel Davis transmitted the final message from the enhanced fleet as they moved to intercept the Devourer vanguard at the galaxy's edge. Her words carried the confidence of a species that had evolved beyond its limitations and accepted the responsibility of protecting all life. The mysterious fleet that had once disappeared, leaving aliens speechless, had returned as humanity embraced its destiny as the galaxy's new guardians in the endless war against cosmic darkness.